Hello everybody, welcome back to part 2 of the Crown tier list. Last time we left off, we were at South Korea, and now we are moving into Laos. So, in my notes, I had the last Crown of South Korea notes in the Laos category, but the Crown of Laos, I can't even find anything on it. It just says like the regalia of Laos is held in this, and it doesn't even have pictures of it, so I couldn't find anything, so I'm going to put no evidence here, but I'm going to have to put like black text over white background just for it to show up on the thing. But other than that, Libya, another no information one. It's just the heraldic crown. This is actually the coat of arms. You can kind of see what they were going for in here, but it was just, yeah. But yeah, moving on. Another Luxembourg has the same issue, just coat of arms. You can see kind of around this top area would be kind of what the crown looks like, but I'm not counting that. So, moving on. Finally, a crown that we can actually go over. The Madagascar, the crown of Ranavalona III. It was made in the 1850s-ish. It was used during the declaration of war on France in 1895. That's all I could really find on its history. It does make its design does make it a kind of bit harder to rate than other ones. It is a very unique design, at least the bottom part is, with the kind of not triangular, like arrowhead things, but the arches and the red velvet, it's not velvet, but it's like red drapings. It does look good though. I do like the little flail at the top. It's not a cross, so that does make me a little bit happy. So I'm going to actually give this one a B tier. It is currently held in the Museum of the Army in Paris, France. We're getting all the fun ones out. Monaco doesn't have a crown; it just has a coat of arms with a heraldic crown. So obviously no evidence category, just great. Montenegro, same thing. All I could find is an illustration of it, not an actual crown. So obviously it's going in the no evidence category. I made one exception, I think, earlier with Croatia's because it was actually good looking. This one is just a very basic crown, and I could tell that even by an illustration. Okay, this is the last one for a while where we don't actually have a crown to talk about. This is Morocco's heraldic one. I would have actually liked to see this one that's actually as a crown, because I think it'd be cool, but we don't have a thing, so. Moving on. Nepal. Oh, I love this one. The Shripek was made for the first king of Nepal, but there is no real evidence of when or where it was made. But I love this crown. It is a very unique crown. It is more of a cap design, which I do really like. I like cap and helmet designs. And the big flail at the top, which I don't know what kind of hair that is, but I do really like it. It is a very unique design and it is very good looking. It does have a lot of gems interlaid, but it does not take away from it. And no red velvet or arches. So I'm going to give this one an S tier. Very good. Really like the crown. It is currently held in the Narayanhiti Palace Museum in Nepal. Again, I apologize. I apologize in the last video. My pronunciation of different things is very bad. The Netherlands, moving back up to Europe. So this crown was made in 1815. It was the first crown made after the abdication of King William I of the Netherlands. It's been used in the Dutch royal family ever since, and only have like a few pearls removed during its time. Guys, I don't really like this crown. It's very basic. It's so basic that if I threw acid on it, it would equalize. It's great. It's not good looking. It's very basic crown. Red velvet arch is not, and it's not even good looking. It's just a very basic crown, and I just. The only thing saving it from an F tier is its kind of neat history, giving it a D tier. It's held in the Nieuwe Kerk in Amsterdam, Netherlands, but it is only put out on public showing during the crowning of a king. So, Norway, moving on. So the crown of Norway was made in Stockholm in 1818. And if you don't know geography all that well, Stockholm is not in Norway, but the simple reason for this is that during this time, Norway and Sweden were in a union. Let's talk about this crown. I could not find a colored picture of it, but I probably could have. First of all, arches. I'm going to assume it's red velvet, but that is just my own bias. I do like the big gem out in the front. It is a little different than the rest of the crowns, but still a very basic crown. I don't have a lot of emotions towards this one. Not even like contempt, so I'm just going to give it a D tier. It's not really great. It's in the Nidaros Cathedral in Trondheim, Norway. Moving on. So Poland has a couple of crowns, but I'm not going to go over the Homogyle, Hungarian, Swedish, Muscovy. It's just, I'm not going over those ones because they are dumb, or the funeral crown. I'm not going over this one. The one I'm going over are the Boleslaw, Augustus II, Augustus III, and Maria Josephia. Jeez. Anyways, and if you get at me about not going over the other ones, most of them are paintings, and I'm not a masochist. So, the Crown of Boleslaw, the first. Okay. I hate these namings. Jeez. Crown of Boleslaw the First, the Brave. It was based on the replica of the Holy Lance that was given to them. It was given to the then Duke of Poland, Boleslaw. It was then passed down a bunch. It was made in the 1000s, somewhere around there. I'm not sure. First, on originality, it's not as bad as the Dutch, but it's not great. It does not have red velvet. Well, I don't know. And the arches are actually like not inside of the crown. Like they're not like going over the crown. And it's not as bad of a looking. I'm gonna be real with you. I'm actually gonna give this a B tier. The history does save it a little bit on this one. So it is currently held in the Wawel Castle in Poland. The crown of Augustus II, the Strong. It was made in 1697 and was made for the aforementioned. It was made for the coronation of the aforementioned king, but it was not used because it was kept in a castle by the leaders, but it was later recovered. All in all, this crown is fine looking. I actually do like this one. The arches do take away from the originality part, but the rest of the crown, if the arches weren't there, would be a very original one looking. Anyways, as far as looks go, it's not a bad looking crown. I wish I had a color photo, but that is not. That's neither here or there. With all of that said, it's kind of just a C, middle of the road, non-offensive crown, just perfectly average. It's currently held in the Dresden Armory in Dresden, Germany. The last crown of Poland. Oh, I just noticed that I don't have the other Augustus on here. So yeah, we're not doing the Augustus III. The last crown of Poland was the crown of Queen Maria Josephia. It was originally the crown. Oh yes, here it is. I apologize. It was originally the crown of Augustus III, but the Polish government gave it to Queen Maria Josephia in Vienna. It was later stolen by the Germans in World War II, and then the Soviets, but then was returned to Poland. I really like the history on this one. It is not a bad looking crown. The red velvet does take away from it and arches, but like still, it's not a bad looking crown. Did I say it was made in 1733? I apologize if I didn't. Yes, it was made then. It's not a bad looking crown. It does kind of lack on originality, but fine. Another C tier. Just Poland's kind of looking like a pretty strong country. It's just a very average for crowns, anyways. It's currently held in the National Museum of Warsaw in Poland. Just moving on to Portugal. The crown of... I'm not trying on that name. Not even trying. It was made in 1817 for the aforementioned king. It was never actually worn by a Portuguese monarch. And, okay, uniqueness, not at all. Arches, red velvet, cross on the top, not good. Looks-wise, not great. Not really good. Bad. Actually, really bad. Honestly, just F tier. F tier, just please get it out of here. I actually need a good crown. I need a really good crown after this. It's currently held in the Ajuda National Palace in Lisbon, Portugal. The other crown of Portugal is the Diadem of the Stars, and it was made for the Queen Consort of Louis I in 1863. First of all, it's a great looking crown. It is so unique. The stars are great. It's just so unique looking, and I really like how it looks. That might just be my bias since I'm sick of looking at arches and red velvet. I love this crown. It just gets an S tier, no notes, great crown. It is currently also held in the Ajuda National Palace in Lisbon, Portugal. Moving on to Romania, the steel crown. The steel crown of Romania was made after the War of Independence and was actually made of steel, as the name suggests, not gold. I have mixed feelings on this crown. So I like that it isn't made of gold. That does actually help it. And there's not a lot of gems interlaid into it, so that does also help. But it does have arches and the velvet. But it is not a bad looking crown. I feel like the arches actually work in this one specific thing. I think they actually work. But this is the only time. This is the only time. And just because the history is cool and it just looks good, I'm going to give it an A tier. I want to be nice. Anyways, it's held in the National Museum of Romanian History in Bucharest. Moving on to Russia. The Monomakh cap. There's actually a lot of these, but this is the one I found. It was made for old grand princes, and it was made in the early principalities of Russia. It was made for grand princes and later Tsars of Russia. It is very original, with the fur overlay that you expect out of Russia, and the more helmet design, without the trappings of red velvet or arches that at least I can see. It is a very good design, and I actually like how it looks. I'm going to give it an A tier. It's a good looking crown. This specific one is currently held in the Kremlin Armory in Moscow, Russia. Serbia and Yugoslavia. So, oh my gosh, I'm not trying. It's Serbian. I'm not trying it. It was made in 1904 for the coronation of King Peter I. It is made of, okay. It is made of bronze taken from a cannon used during the first Serbian uprising in 1830-ish. So I actually made a joke about this in this type of crown in the first video without even knowing this one was going to be here. Like I made a joke about steel taken from a ship that sunk during a war or whatever. This one is just that, but just cool. But the history does it too much justice. It is a very basic crown. I mean, look at it, red velvet arches. The eagles on the front is very cool. I do like that design. But, you know, with arches and red velvet, originality and looks very, very go down. But because the history is cool, I'm going to give it a B tier. It's great. It's currently held in Serbia. I couldn't find a specification of where. The other crown of Serbia is, I'm not trying, please, just don't. So, it was made in 1282-ish, roughly. It was actually made in a series of crowns because the house is just so old it has that many crowns. I cannot find a very specific history on this one specifically. So I'm taking the crown of Stefan Uros III. And this one confuses me. It has all the trappings of a European crown, but it doesn't look like any of them. Red velvet arches, but it doesn't look anything like any other crown. It's good looking. I like it. It's a very good crown. I'm giving it an A tier. I don't know why I put held in Serbia. It's actually currently held in the Imperial Treasury of Vienna. So, editor's note. The Spanish royal crown. Can't find an exact date, just before 1379. The last time it was used for crowning was 1379, so that's the latest I can go. They've sworn an oath with it in its presence. It's always been there. So I mean, very bog standard history, whatever. All right, let's talk about it. Gold, you all know the drill. Arches, red velvet, no cross at the top, which is very helpful. It doesn't look that bad. It has a over-reliance on gold, which I'm now also starting to hate, but, you know, whatever. D tier, just a fairly terrible crown. Whatever. It is currently held in the Royal Palace of Madrid in Spain. Moving on to Sweden, the crown of Eric XIV. It was made in 1561 for the coronation of him. During the 19th century, the original gold was replaced, but in the 1970s, it was restored to the original look. For the history, it's very run-of-the-mill. It does help that it was changed during the 19th and 20th century. On originality, it's not that great. It's very samey with a lot of other crowns, but it is not bad looking. I mean, the arches get a little messy, and so does the velvet. It's just whatever. I would have liked to see this crown without arch. I actually take arches off of every single crown if I could, but D tier, not great. It's currently held in the Stockholm Palace in Sweden. Moving on to Syria. There is so little evidence of this that I had to crop this from an old flag, which is why you can see my cropping skills aren't wonderful, so you can see. Anyways, moving on. Thailand or Siam this is the Great Crown of Victory. So I would like to make a note here is that this is the crown I was talking about when I was talking about Cambodia, so I can finally give it the rating that it deserves. This one, the first one that I can find was made in 1782. This is a replica, I forgot to mention that. It was made for King Rama I. Later, a set of diamonds was added to it. It is based on a multi-tiered conical diadem terminating in a tapering spire. A lot of words. It is a very unique crown. I mean, look at it. It's very unique looking. It's very tall, which is cool. It is. I'm doubting that anybody ever wore this type of crown. They would have to have the neck strength of a Norse god. Anyways, love the look of the crown. It does have a lot of gold on it, but it works because it's not too intricate, but it's not too basic. I'm giving it an S tier. No notes. Wonderful crown. This replica is currently held in the Royal Thai Naval Museum in Thailand, of course. Moving on to Tonga, don't mind the little cropped out portion of that guy's head. I couldn't find a picture of just the crown. The crown of Tonga was made for George Tupos, the first king George Tupou I, if his name, in 1873 after being pestered by his prime minister. Apologies if you can hear the rain on the recording. It has been used by the monarchs of Tonga since, and is said to be the heaviest crown in the world. Citation needed. It is a very unoriginal crown. It's whatever. Arches, velvet. The saint symbol does help it a little bit, but I just don't think it's great. I'm going to give it a C tier. Yeah, it's not great. It is currently held by the royal family of Tonga, who still use it to this day. Moving on to Ukraine, the Ruthenian crown has no evidence. I can only find it on this coat of arms. It is a very old house, though, so I like to make a note of that. So, no evidence. Next, the crown of Rus. It was made sometime before 1253 because it was used for the coronation of Daniel of Galicia. The crown is believed to have been lost, but many speculations put it in all sorts of places like the US, Russia, Poland, and the Vatican. First, rad history. Cool. Nobody knows where it's at. Random as heck. Great. No notes. The originality is bad, of course. Not great looking. It would have been so cool to see this crown. No arches, no red velvet. That would have been great, but we don't live in that world. It's going to be a B tier. History is really cool. I hate red velvet and arches. Anyways, this replica is currently held in the Zolochiv Castle in Ukraine. The crown of Saint Vladimir, I couldn't find any evidence other than him wearing it in stamps or pictures, so it obviously doesn't get a rating. Alright, we are moving on to the United Kingdom, who I think is the poster child of the problem with crowns, but we're going to get into that. This is the Imperial State Crown. This is like the big famous one. But I'm going to talk about just three. This is the Imperial State Crown, which is the big one that we got to talk about. Queen Victoria's Diamond Crown and the Crown of Scotland. So this one was made in 1937, but has existed in some time since the 15th century. It's been passed down and changed a couple of times since then to fit mostly the heads of the people that wear it. It is currently property of King Charles III of the UK. But let's talk about this. arches are interlaid with so many diamonds that it literally would make me want to vomit. The purple is, I mean, it's not red, but it's still bad. And the leopard skin, I think, is what at the bottom of that. Just, I hate it. F tier. It is just, why? It's so bad. It's so bad. Anyways, it's currently kept in the Tower of London in England. Moving on. Okay. This one is the only United Kingdom crown that I actually want to talk about. Queen Victoria's diamond crown. It was made in 1870 after the death of her husband because she wanted to have a widow's cap. This crown is just, it's great. It is not very big. It's a very unique crown. The arches don't help, but it is a very unique crown. It is very small, and it doesn't have red velvet that I can see. And not too many gems, because she was trying to go for more basic, but you still got to be a little regal. I actually like this one. It's the only one I actually like. It gets a B tier. Thank you for saving this dumpster fire of a country with crowns. It's just not great. Currently held in the Tower of London in the UK. The Crown of Scotland. This current iteration was made in 1540, but it was a copy of an old one that had been around since at least 1503. It was first worn by James V and has been used by other kings since then. It also belongs to Charles III, but it is in Scotland. So the design is a standard crown, of course, but it does have a little uniqueness with the lower part. If I could change it, arches, red velvet, be great. I do have to give it a D tier. It's just not great. Whatever. It's currently held in the Edinburgh Castle in Scotland. Moving on to the United States, specifically Hawaii. The Crown of Hawaii, it was made after contact with the Europeans, who made contact with the Native Hawaiians, so that's why it has a more European look. It was actually made in London. So this crown is going to obviously have some failings, but it does have a difference. The arches are better. I actually like it. The velvet could go and I wouldn't care, but like, still, I'm going to actually give this a B tier. It's really cool. I like this crown. It is currently in the Ainole'ini Palace in Hawaii. And our last crown of the day and this video. Vietnam. The crown of Po Klong Mihani? I don't know. It was made sometime in the 1620s, but it's hard to say exactly when. I can't find a great amount of history for it because it was in Vietnam during the 1600s, which is a less than documented part of the world, so I'm going to give it a pass. This crown is so unique. I mean, look at it. It has such a cool and wacky design. It's great. And the absence of a lot of gems is just such a breather for me that it's great. It's a very good looking crown. The gold is very intricate. I love it, and it's not too much gold. It's just the lack of arches, lack of red velvet. It's just so good. And like I said, I like cap crowns, not like crowns. So this one, the last crown of the tier list, is going to get an S tier. Ending off with a high note. Great. It is currently held in the Ho Chi Minh City Museum of History in Vietnam. Well, that was a lot of red velvet and arches. I wanted to thank you all so much for watching. If you haven't watched the first part of this tier list, I highly recommend that you do so. With all of that said, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!